is, can you make a list of potential rational zeros? Okay. What do I look at to do that? Remember. Something in the equation helps me do that. Do you remember what it is? Oh, I see. Yeah, because I was doing it. The last thing, because those are going to be the possible numerators, the factors of it. Remember this P over Q thing? Okay. P are the factors of the first thing. Q is the factor of, sorry, did I say the first thing? Should have said the last thing. The bottom are the factors of the first thing. Okay, let's do it. What's the factors? Let's list them of negative 20. Plus or minus. Give me some. One. 20. 2. 10. 4, 5. Okay, kind of a lot on the bottom. What are, at least we don't have a lot on the bottom. What are the factors of 3? 1 and 3. Okay. So now I go through these. Some of them are going to be repeated. Here's my list. 1 over 1 is 1, plus or minus. Here's why I want to have this list, because I'm graphing in a second, and I want to make sure I pick a window. And so I'm going to have to maybe look all the way to 20 because I don't want to miss any. So this list helps me look at my graph. We could do 20, 2, because 2 over 1's 2, and 10, and 4, and 5. And then we would have to do them all over 3. So we also are going to look at 1/3 plus or minus, 20/3, 2/3, 10/3, 4/3, and 5/3. I shouldn't put them there. So all of those are my potentials. All right. Let's go ahead now and find which ones are actual zeros. Would you pull out your graphing calculator, please? If you don't have a graphing calculator, I have one. Hold on, I think. Yep, that one. I need this one. I need batteries is what I need. Did I tell you somebody took my batteries out of one of these? Did I already tell you that? Can you tell it bothers me? Every time there, I got 2 of them. If you're missing a calculator, you can first come, first serve. Grab one. Okay. Ooh, I'm gonna have to change my window, I think. It looks like it has, on my screen, 2 reels, but I'm gonna, just to double check, I'm gonna go out to 20 and negative 20, just to make sure, because that was on my list. knowing like that, I'm going to give you imaginaries because that's what we're studying today. Probably not, but okay. So there's these two right here. Let's take a closer look. Where does that one look like it crosses to you? -4. Let's just confirm. In my table, if I type in -4, I get that the function is 0. All right, so -4 is one of them. Do you see it crosses between 0 and 1? So the things that I would check on my list would be the things between 0 and 1. There's two of them. 1/3 and 2/3 would be the only things that are possibility. All the others are not in that range. So let's check 1/3. Looks like I found it. So those are my rational zeros. Okay, so far that's nothing new. Nothing new. We did that on your test. Okay, now, by the way, how many complex zeros does this equation have? You mean imaginaries? Yes. 4 total. Imaginaries, you're right, because there's 2 of these. We know the 2 left over are going to have to be. So we are going to have to find those. That's what we're going to do today. Okay, so using synthetic division, we are going to now factor into a product of linear and irreducible. We saw that word yesterday. Quadratic factors. Okay, this is again nothing new. What's going to happen is we are going to divide off -4, and then we're going to divide off 1/3. What we're going to have left is a quadratic, and that's what I mean by an irreducible quadratic. All right, where would you like to start with which one? Let's get the 1/3 out of the way. All right, so we put the 1/3 in the box. -1, -33, 71, -20. Okay, here we go. Now we do 3 times 1/3. What's 3 times 1/3? 1. What's -1 plus 1? What's 1/3 times 0? That's 0, yep. Okay, what's -33 times 1/3? -11. And then 71 plus -11? And then 1/3 times 60. And that's what we wanted, that remainder of 0. So now I'm down to a cube. Let's now do the next one. Okay, so we're going to take our results, which is 3, 0, -33, and 60. And now we're going to divide off are negative 4. So I have negative 12 here. 0 plus negative 12 is negative 4 times negative 12 is positive 48, right? What about negative 33 plus 48? What's that? 15. 15 times a negative 12. Okay. So that's it. Let's write it now, though. Some of us forgot on our test to write the actual factoring part. So how would I write this as a factor? X plus 4. Now, I know that this is x minus 1/3, but I taught you the way that you would write x minus 1/3 would be 3x minus 1. So these and write linear here, so in your notes you remember these are the linear ones. Linear just means they're degree 1. Quadratic means degree 2. So then this is my quadratic. Okay. At this point, we have factored with real numbers in it. If I would go any further, they would not have real numbers in them. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm not going to ask you to do that a ton. I want to show you how. It's not something that I'm going to probably assess. But you should, I ask a couple questions on a homework about it. How could I get further with a quadratic? What do you know? What have we learned so far about how to find zeros of a quadratic in this class? Yeah. Quadratic formula. So if I wanted to find the last 2 zeros, we would run it through quad formula, and what we would just get is something with an I in it. So let's see what that looks like. So the very last thing we're going to do today is, what was that, letter C. Is we're going to factor into all linear factors, and that just means we have to find the other zeros. All right. We already had our first linear factors. They were, you didn't flip your page, did you? Was it x plus 4? Okay. And then the other one was, is it minus 1? Okay. Okay, let's do ours. 3x squared. I wrote that down right. I don't want to make a mistake writing it down. Okay, here we go. X equals negative b. So I would write 12 plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. All right, we should get something negative underneath the radical. Do you get a negative 36? Would you confirm that you get that as well? Okay. This is why it becomes important that you did that work last week on ingenuity with complex numbers or with imaginaries, because what's the square root of negative 36? 6i. So now I have my 12 plus or minus 6i over 6. And then I would just simplify that. I can divide both of those things by 6. So that would give me 2 plus or minus I. Okay. And those are my last two. So remember, they came in pairs. So my last two linear factors are x minus, and remember this is how we started yesterday, 2 plus I, and x minus 2 minus I. Sometimes they're yuck, sometimes they have fractions in them, and you're going to just write them x minus whatever those two numbers are, okay? They might have still a square root in them, but those are our two imaginaries then that we would not see on the graphs. Do you guys have questions? Okay, so let's take a look